human remains found in Montgomery County earlier this month have been confirmed as those of Felicia Johnson.
She's the 24-year-old San Diego woman who disappeared while visiting Houston in April of last year, and investigators are still looking for the man charged in her death. Those remains were found in Sam Houston National Forest back on February 7th. Aniela Ruiz is live. What else are you learning tonight, Aniela?
Well, investigators are telling us they hope this brings her family some kind of closure, but HPD continues searching for the man they believe murdered Felicia Johnson.
On a quiet spring day in 2022, a young woman arrived in Houston, Texas, searching for a new beginning. Her name was Felicia Johnson. She was 24 years old, far from home, and looking toward a future filled with possibilities. She had traveled from San Diego, California to Houston, hoping to celebrate her birthday, explore new opportunities, and create a different life for herself. But within days of arriving,
they release her, then I will be able to have a service for her and pay her the respects that
arriving in Texas, Felicia would disappear. What started as a simple trip became a heartbreaking mystery that would leave her family searching for answers and investigators following a trail of digital evidence, disturbing discoveries, and unanswered questions. A $500 arrangement made online would become the final known
because I want the perpetrators to be caught.
Meeting of Felicia Johnson's life. Months later, investigators would discover human remains in a Texas forest. The discovery would
have to wonder and question, where is she? What happened to her? At least you have that now. And now we can move on to the next step, and that's catching this guy and bringing him.
Glad that my baby is going to be home in some way, shape, or form here shortly. And, that's big, it's huge. And some people never get that closure. And for some reason, my heart just goes out to people that's been waiting 30 years, 40 years, and just don't have no information, no news, no nothing. So I feel blessed, I feel humbled, and just appreciative of that textile worker that found that bag. And I learned that, and I was blindsided with the information that was just put out without my knowledge. I felt like that could have killed me. Just to find out like that, what happened to her, very, very difficult for me as a father to just know that I'm not going to see my daughter ever again, ever talk to her again.
Confirmed the tragedy her family had feared. But one question remained. Who was responsible? And why has the person investigators believe is connected to Felicia's death remained free? This is the story of Felicia Johnson, a young woman whose life was cut short, a father who refused to stop searching for justice, and a case that continues to haunt those who want answers. Felicia Johnson was like many young people searching for independence and opportunity. At 24 years old, she was entering a stage of life where the future seemed wide open. She had dreams, plans, and hopes for what was ahead. Her journey from California to Texas represented a chance for something new. A new city, new experiences, new possibilities. But like many people today, Felicia used online platforms to communicate and connect with others. The internet had become part of everyday life, a place where people found friendships, jobs, opportunities, and personal connections. However, investigators would later discover that one online interaction would change everything. Felicia had arranged a meeting involving a payment of $500. At the time, there was nothing that suggested the meeting would become dangerous. There was no way for her family to know that this would be the last time anyone would hear from her. After the meeting, Felicia disappeared. At first, her absence created confusion. For families, the first hours after someone goes missing are filled with uncertainty. They search for explanations. They hope there is a simple reason. Maybe the phone stopped working. Maybe she needed time. Maybe she would call soon. But as time passed and Felicia remained unreachable, fear began replacing hope. Her family knew something was wrong. Her father, Kevin Johnson, immediately began looking for answers. He would not allow his daughter's disappearance to become another forgotten case. He spoke publicly. He searched for information. He kept Felicia's name in the spotlight, because behind every missing person investigation is a family living through the same painful questions every day. Where is she? What happened? Will she come home? Investigators began examining Felicia's final known movements. They looked into her communications, her phone activity, and the people connected to her final days. The investigation quickly began focusing on a man authorities believed was connected to her disappearance. As detectives worked to reconstruct the timeline, technology became one of the most important tools in the investigation. Digital evidence can reveal pieces of a story that are invisible to the human eye. Messages, phone records, online activity, location information. Each piece can help investigators understand what happened. In Felicia's case, investigators examined evidence that they believed connected a suspect to her disappearance. One of the most significant discoveries involved Felicia's cell phone. According to investigators, the phone was recovered with evidence suggesting that something violent had occurred. That discovery changed the direction of the case. This was no longer only a missing person investigation. Authorities began treating Felicia's disappearance as a homicide. Investigators continued gathering evidence and searching for answers. They examined locations connected to the investigation. They reviewed information collected from electronic devices. They looked at evidence recovered during searches. According to authorities, evidence found during the investigation led them to identify a suspect. Investigators alleged that the evidence pointed toward his involvement in Felicia's death. A murder warrant was eventually issued. But before police could take him into custody, the suspect disappeared. The case became a nationwide manhunt. For law enforcement, finding a wanted fugitive is a difficult challenge. Time becomes a major factor. Every day that passes can make it harder to determine where someone has gone. A suspect may move between locations, avoid contact with others, or attempt to hide from authorities. For Felicia's family, knowing that the person accused of taking her life remained free created another painful reality. They were not only grieving, they were waiting for justice, waiting for answers, waiting for the day when the person responsible would face the consequences. Months after Felicia disappeared, investigators made a discovery in the Sam Houston National Forest. Human remains were located in the wooded area. The remains were later identified as belonging to Felicia Johnson. The discovery brought an end to the uncertainty surrounding her disappearance, but it also confirmed the devastating truth. Felicia was gone. For her loved ones, the pain was unimaginable. The hope that she might somehow return was replaced with the reality that she had been taken from them forever. But the discovery also renewed the determination to find justice. Felicia's father, Kevin Johnson, continued fighting to keep his daughter's story alive. He understood that attention matters in cases like this. When a case disappears from the public conversation, finding answers can become even more difficult. Kevin continued sharing Felicia's story because he believed that someone, somewhere, might have information that could help investigators. A single tip, a single conversation, a single piece of evidence could make the difference. Felicia's case became a reminder that behind every headline is a real person. A person with a family. A person with memories. A person whose life mattered. True crime stories often focus on suspects and investigations. But before Felicia became part of a criminal investigation, she was a daughter. She was someone's friend. She was someone with dreams. She was someone who deserved the chance to live her life. The investigation into her death continues to raise important questions. How did the suspect manage to avoid capture? Where did he go? Does someone have information that could help locate him? These questions remain unanswered. Authorities continue asking anyone with information about the case to come forward. Sometimes the smallest detail can become the key that solves a case. A person who remembers seeing something unusual, and someone who knows where a fugitive may have traveled. Someone who has information they have never shared. For families of victims, justice is not only about punishment, it is about answers. It is about accountability. It is about knowing that the person they loved has not been forgotten. Felicia Johnson's story is a reminder of how quickly a hopeful future can be stolen. She traveled to Houston looking for opportunity. Instead, her name became connected to a tragedy that shocked her family and communities across the country. But her story does not end with the crime. It continues through the people who remember her, through the investigators still searching for answers, and through a family that refuses to stop fighting for justice. Felicia deserved more birthdays, more memories, more chances. She deserved the future she was searching for. As long as her name continues to be spoken, her story will continue to matter. And as long as the person accused of taking her life remains free, the search for justice will continue. If you have any information related to the disappearance and death of Felicia Johnson, contact the appropriate law enforcement authorities. One piece of information could help bring answers. One person could help bring justice. And one day, Felicia's family hopes they will finally see the justice their daughter deserves.